View. This session has its own sponsor. So to introduce the session, please welcome to the stage Constantine Knauf, the Managing Director of Quest.
Hello everyone. It's good to be back in Amsterdam, really good to be back at IBC, and it's great to be back at SVG Summit and seeing all of you. My name is Constantine Knauf. I'm Managing Director at Quest and responsible for the European business. We will dive in the next session into the challenges of sports broadcasting with a specific focus on Europe. And one point I like to pick out is the challenge of transformation around viewing and consumption behavior with Gen Z audience. In a recent interview, German sports executive said, we see a strong shift in Gen Z going from not watching the 90 minutes of football to snippets, to Instagram type of media consumption. And pitching this then afterwards to a tech executive within a broadcasting station, there was a discussion around AI, a discussion around operations, around remote production, but picking up on this shift in consumption pattern wasn't really considered in the tech planning yet. And I think we at Quest strongly believe that strategic foresight to taking likely futures into consideration around technology planning is crucial for success. So what is it and what can be key aspects thinking about strategic foresight? One topic clearly is ecosystems, it's digital products, and it is operations. Regarding ecosystems, one thing which impressed me personally very much was Formula One basically blending a digital experience and a physical experience with setting up the new racetrack in Vegas, building a permanent brand space there, and at the same time putting the people forward with Drive to Survive on Netflix. Regarding digital products, I spoke about younger audiences, right? And we will see people consuming differently on different platforms with different services, also in a more gamified way. And regarding future operating model, we now want to bring this all together, being more flexible on more platforms, probably being green. It's easy. I think it's not, right? It's hard for all of us because most of us come from a broadcasting world. So addressing a future operating model which take platform into consideration is key. How do Quest support this? Or what we have been doing key in the last 12 months. So basically one of the projects is programmatic ad booking within live sports stadium on the banners, fast channel for the European League of Footballs with Makalu Playout, project management for the release of the new Dine sports broadcasting platform, and delivering the OTT solutions for TV New Zealand rugby streaming. Saying OTT, one news very close to my heart is that Quest Group has acquired the OTT specialist TerraVolt. It's now part of the group, sharing this firstly today, and it's with this extending our positioning OTT services. TerraVolt is really an expert in delivering digital platforms in data-driven experience with their product TV X-Ray. I think also Wolfgang from TerraVolt is here, so happy to have a chat later or on Hall 10 during the show. With no further ado, our claim for this year is expect more. Handing over now to George in the next panel. I'm looking forward to learning more, seeing more, and wishing all of you a great show and the rest of the summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Constantine. So please, my panelists, would you like to join me on stage? So welcome to the first panel of the day, which is Europe United, Solving Sports Broadcasting's Biggest Challenges. If you just take a seat. So I'll introduce the panel very quickly, and then they'll get a chance to say a few words about themselves. Firstly, unfortunately, Marcel from Ziggo is unable to join us today, but we're delighted to be joined by a panel with a wide range of experience and viewpoints. So we have Arthur Zuijderwijk, Ursula Romero, Eamonn Curtin, and Carlo De Marchis. So thank you all for joining us. So during this panel, we want to explore the big challenges, basically, that are shaping and affecting the way that sports content's captured and managed and distributed as well. We want to look at some of the commercial issues that are shaping the sports sector. We want to consider the issues that are affecting monetization and engagement, and look at some of the disruptive technologies as well, such as AI and the cloud, and really consider their promise as well. And importantly, we want to provide some suggestions for solutions. And that's hopefully where you will also come in, and we'll get some input from the audience as to how we can tackle all of those challenges. So, if you'd all like to introduce yourselves very quickly, starting with you, please, Arthur.
Good morning. My name is Arthur Zuijderwijk. I'm the co-owner of Southfields. Southfields is a 100% production company based in Amsterdam. We have 180 people daily working on sports for various of clients. The biggest are ESPN and Ziggo Sports in the Netherlands, and mainly we are known for doing all the football in the Netherlands, both national and international. So it's a home game for me today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Ursula?
Hello, my name is Ursula Romero. I'm the Managing Director of ISB, International Sports Broadcasting. As the name says, we specialize in sports broadcasting, and we've been around for quite a while now, and our specialty is host broadcasting, so which we face all these challenges every day of how host broadcasting is done, how it's changing. We are a very small company. We're 12, and we're based in Madrid, close to OBS, and we are actually currently in Düsseldorf for the Invictus Games, which is, apologies if I'm a little bit tired.
Thank you. Eamonn?
Hi, good morning. My name's Eamonn Curtin. I'm the International Sales Director for EMG. We're based in 10 countries globally, and my role is to look after all of the entities to make sure that we deliver the continuity for all of our global clients and the best across, because all the clients are global now. They're not just based in, they're reaching out to each of the entities. So what we're trying to do is just make sure that the entities collaborate in the most efficient way to get the most efficient use of our kit and crew. So there we can also then pass on those efficiencies to our clients. So that's us.
Thank you, Eamonn. And Carlo?
Hi, I'm Carlo De Marchis, a guy with a scarf. Talking about Gen Z, I realized I started in 1987 in this industry when broadcast graphics was black and white, or key and yellow, whatever you had the lucky to have. Through the years, I worked all my career at Delta Tre as a CTO, CPO, and lately chief evangelist. From February 1st, I'm trying to create this portfolio career between, advisory, like for Cleeng, the subscription attention company, and this marketing communication brand. I work in live sport production, not in charge of live sport production, but together with the biggest names like UEFA, FIFA, HBS. I've seen some people there, I guess. OBS and the Olympics, NFL, BBC. So I've seen from aside, from a lateral view, everything that you do, so complex and so sophisticated for so many years.
Excellent, thank you all. So Ursula, you mentioned that you've come direct from Düsseldorf and the Invictus Games, and you came armed with a video as well, which we can see. So if we can show that video, please.
Just to break the ice.
Dear competitors, herzlich willkommen in Düsseldorf. Welcome to Düsseldorf.
Welcome to Germany. Welcome to the home for respect.
We are very proud to host the Invictus Games for the first time here in our country. These games build a home for respect.
Respect for your qualities as humans, respect for maintaining our values and principles, respect for your abilities and your achievements. Are you ready?
Let's do this! Thank you!
Every single one of these competitors, from 21 nations across the globe, has already begun the race. The race to lead by example. The race to recovery. And Invictus is for all. The competitors, the husbands, wives, partners, the parents, the children, friends, relatives, comrades. For all of them to say, with pride, we are Invictus.
Great stuff. So that really gives us a sense of the scale of the event and the emotion that's involved as well. Can you give us an idea of what you and what ISB has been asked to provide, and perhaps an idea as well of how that might differ from previous Invictus Games as well?
Well, I think the main difference is the way Invictus works, similar to the Olympics, is that there's the IGF, Invictus Games Foundation, but then each country that has the Invictus has to come up with their own broadcasting plan or distribution plan. So we were asked to become their host broadcaster, and we did a little bit more. But basically, what we're doing is 4 live sports feeds, streams. And then we also created an IG23 TV channel, which is streamed on their webpage and also YouTube. And many of the broadcasters are also picking that up. It includes a studio show, includes highlights, and it includes live sport, which I understood from the last Invictus Games. And that was one of the things that the German organizing committee wanted to push, is that a lot of these beautiful pictures that were produced here in The Hague, live as well, were not seen anywhere. So we, rightly or wrongly, I don't know, because it created a whole bunch of other issues, but we helped out with the rights distribution. So now we have over 25 takers that are taking it either through the feeds directly or streamed. And then there's a bunch of news agencies from all over that are receiving the pictures, either the full feed or via highlights, which is great because the pictures are being seen.
Yeah.
And that is the major difference from the last time, I believe. Yeah. And then we're also providing services for the in-house, for sport presentation for the in-house monitors. And we're using a system that was also we kind of invented it, but it worked really well. We're using Simply Live from Riedel now. So we're helping the sport presentation guys to put those pictures up on the monitors in the field.
Okay, so really broadening that distribution and making sure that gets in front of more people. Yeah, thank you. Arthur, can you give us a sense of what some of your clients are asking for at the moment, and any of the trends that you might be picking up in terms of their demands?
Yeah, we have a variety of clients. The bigger ones, ESPN and Ziggo and Talpa, commercial network in the Netherlands. They more or less ask me two or three things. One is, can you give me for the same budget a lot more? 2, can you give me the same product for a lot smaller budget? And they ask me, make sure that you know what's going on in the world and bring us that ideas so we can implement that in our feeds, in our programs, etc. That's mainly what they ask me.
In terms of technology,
in terms of technology, yes, the newest technology, and they expect that we bring that technology to them. What you see, I don't know if that in other countries is the same, but in both channels and also in federations, there is not that many people anymore who know everything about technique. So they expect from us as their production partner that we bring that to them, and we see that more and more.
Yeah. Thank you. And Eamonn, same question to you really. What are those kind of trends in terms of the demands that you're getting from clients at the moment?
They're far and wide really. Everything from large-scale events like the Invictus Games, the Olympics, European Championships, where you need a large-scale IP system to be able to deliver that, all the way down to remote So, you know, and different types of remote. You have full remote, you have remote in the cloud, you have hybrid remote or remote surface, as we call it. So as a company, you have to be able to deliver and have everything in the locker to be able to do that. And that's quite challenging based on the fact that you need so many different things. But as a company, as EMG, we're working with our clients, and it's all about partnerships and working with them. Over the years, we've had a brilliant partnership with BT Sport that are now TNT. Worked very closely with an industry leader, Andy Beale, with regards to remote, everything from cloud all the way through to the large-scale events, and being able to deliver that and all the different standards as well. They're the challenges, from UHD, HDR to all the way down to 1080i. It's all the different, you know, you've got to be able to deliver all of those different standards to all the different clients. So it's keeping on top of that. And it's also looking future for sustainability. So there's those balances. You've got to tick all of these boxes. So you have to have lots of different things, from big IP scale, which is at EMG Deploy, all the way through to new remote trucks that are sustainable, that can feed into different clients' remote production centres. So Sky have their full remote, which we've got the trucks for. We've just done 80 OBs in the cricket this summer, all the way through to just your normal standard large OBs that deliver you Champions League finals and all of this. So it's staying on top of that. And that's all about being a partner with your clients.
And Arthur mentioned that phrase, which I expect we'll hear quite often today as well, about doing more for less. Is that something which summarises some of the things that you're being asked for as well?
Yes. It's difficult to you can do that, but it's all about still being able to deliver what the client wants, and not, you can do things for less, but then does that have an effect on your production on screen? You don't want that to happen. You can do that. There's lots of clever ways you can do that now. It's just what they're willing to, it's the risk. It's risk versus reward, and that's where it is at the moment. But it's about working with, and remote does that. Working in the remote workflow, you can find the efficiencies, and it's working through those efficiencies, whether it be moving crew off-site and using them multiple times for events over that day, which we are looking at, and we're continuing to grow. So it's all of those things, and it's also connectivity, different types of connectivity. They all have their own little price bands. It's which one you want, and again, it goes back to risk. It's whether you're willing to take that risk.
Do you see a shift in the really big events like Olympics, like Formula One, etc., that there is budget enough compared to when you go lower in the chain?
Yeah. I mean, I think and the lower in the chain is with regards to the number of cameras you want, and does it really need a vehicle on site? From EMG, a TV for outside broadcast facilities company, that not all of it. We've got post-production, we've got everything, but the largest part of the company is delivering live content, and that's whether it be fly packs, trucks, or studios. With regards to the price, there are clever ways that from the lower end you can take to the higher end. For the unilateral feeds, etc., you can use all of those elements, but it's finding all of those savings for your clients and then passing them on to them. So then, because obviously we need to still make money, that's what we're in business to do, but we also want to be able to push forward in technology and pass that on, because sustainability is really key, and it's really hard to hit that if you're still sending lots of things to site.
I think part of the problem is also, and I think it's adding on to both of you, is that the clients know, or the possible clients know, that it's fairly easy for them to pick up a phone and stream directly. And then they come with those expectations and they say, I want you to do a good production, but I know how much it costs or it can cost. And then you say, but you have to explain, yes, but one thing is doing a small streaming production, but you're expecting a high quality broadcast production, it's not the same cost. It's not the same cost to, yes, remote sounds great, but is it remote with a 4G backpack, or is it remote, with a proper setup? And there is a risk, and that's what you were saying, Eamonn. They have to understand the risk, but their expectations are still high.
So this conversation about budgets feels obviously quite closely related to the subject of rights, and that's an area, Carlo, which you're quite familiar with. And you've written before about pay TV reducing their reliance on sports rights. Can you just give us a sense of what you mean by that? Why you would suggest that, and what the challenge is that they're facing that would encourage them to do that?
Let me think first, as a preamble, that I'm naive utopian here, so I just want to be able to exit the room with no risk. But I think if you look at the value chain of production, aggregation, the distribution, to make it very simple. I was at your SVG event in Milano at Sky with Riccardo Botta. We were talking this morning, and clearly, if you look at it, distribution and aggregation, very, very different. A lot of change in the last years. Production is possibly the industry that has been more stable, with a lot of innovation, mostly coming from inside. I think now it's the moment where there is an acceleration of request of innovation and change from the ecosystem around you, which is very different from the past. In this scenario, also the fact that if you look at pay TV or in general, at some point, if you take Italy, not the market that I know the best, but some live sport rights were defining. So people would buy stupid things. TV when there is World Cup, would go for Sky or someone else because they have Champions League or Serie A. It was simple. Now I think it's not only Gen Z. You may, take Netflix or Amazon Prime because there is series. You ask your friends, where is Ted Lasso? It's Apple TV. Why? I don't have it. So I think live rights for sport, luckily enough for all of us, are still very crucial. The Olympics, I remember Barbara Slater, BBC, saying the Olympics are defining moment for a broadcaster. So you define the Olympic broadcaster in every country. I think it's very different. It's more fragmented. The last original series, even in sport, may define the driver for people to subscribe or to change or to go to some friend's home to watch something. So I think the ecosystem around production is so much is evolving so much faster than before. Than the industry that was able to progress mostly by innovation from inside. We have a new cinematic camera. I love that, by the way. We are using this technology. We are doing. Is now maybe the challenge is now the requests are coming a lot from an outside that is evolving very rapidly. And I think that's a moment where you need to maybe reshape what you're doing. And that's the way I see it from outside a bit, if you want.
And you mentioned the word fragmentation. It kind of ties in, I think, a little bit to one of the points you made earlier, Eamonn, about that the kind of complexity and the range of deliverables that you have to manage and work across as well. Can you give us an idea of what kind of challenges that presents?
Well, first and foremost, just to lead on from Carlo, actually, as a company, as it goes back to being able to, what I said earlier about having everything in the locker, we're being asked so regularly for different innovative, the cinematic camera is a classic example. And EMG have got the facility side, we've got, we work closely with ACS, which is part of EMG, and then we've got EMG connectivity. So we've got all of those elements that actually, when the client does come to speak to us and say, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this, actually EMG is a one place that they can come into to do that, which is great, which is an advantage for us because obviously working outside of that is very difficult. But going back to the original question, which is, just remind me, what was it?
Well, just so about the fragmentation and then the increase in the deliverables.
Yeah.
And having to manage that.
That's about the being able to deliver the different standards from UHD, HDR to now a lot of the clients are looking at 1080p HDR, And actually, what we would like to do is if people do settle on one, then we wouldn't have to change up and down a lot of things. You know, we can set different trucks to be able to, and systems to be one format, and then spread out from that, which would be great.
So when there is that that range of formats, what are the issues that then presents to you? Is that a technology issue? Is that also to do with people as well and skills?
It's people understanding the workflow, because the workflows are becoming extremely more complex, particularly around the HDR side of it. There are some HDR specialists, and you know, everyone's got their own different opinion, which is difficult to stay on top of, especially when you do a large event and you've got multiple different providers. They all have different ways that they do their workflows. So there's that. But you've got to work with your partners, and you've got to push innovation. You know, UHD HDR is fantastic. It's brilliant, and once that's delivered, it's probably the best quality you can see on a screen for sure, for sure. But it's also investing into those and having the capex to be able to do that based on the demands, because it's based on we're asking to do more, but for less, and therefore, but we need the latest equipment to be able to do it, which is why remote works really well, because you can then centralize all of your equipment in one spot and then feed that and utilize that more efficiently and have different vehicles. So it's about the future of the fleet. We talk about that at EMG a lot, the future of the fleet. So we've got 4 new remote trucks in the UK that are working for multiple different clients, not just so. Long gone is the day that you would build a truck for a client for a specific contract. You can't do that. That's the wrong thing to do now. You need a flexible fleet. You need flexible trucks that can work in both remote and on-site.
Thank you. And Arthur, you guys obviously sit slightly upstream from this, but I'm guessing that it's a similar situation where you're working across multiple different formats.
Yeah, multiple different formats. Sorry, multiple different clients, and I like to look at the world with the glass is half full, not half empty. And what the good news is, I think, for all of us in this room, is that there is so much development on every single aspect of the chain is currently now developing like crazy. And I'm totally agree with Carlo. It goes faster than fast. And to manage all that, the bigger sports have to manage that. But also, if you look at the other side of the chain, also the local volleyball federation sees opportunities because of the new technique, implementing that and bringing suddenly all their volleyball matches to life. It was something that they never thought of 3 years ago, and now suddenly with all new techniques making that possible, I think it's a very exciting time for all of us. And yes, it goes very fast, but if we adopt the new technique and we as a production partner make sure that we are the glue between the different techniques and helping the channel or the federation with the business model, with the money side of things, we have a very, very, very good time it's looking at us. I think the ocean becomes wider and wider. So as the chairman of IBC already says, I'm curious to see what's in all the holes, but I expect that there are a lot new techniques that we can implement in the different workflows. Either we work for Formula One or the local volleyball federation. There will be something that helps them out, I think. So
And so that point around flexibility, and cloud is offered as sometimes as a solution to that, or an enabler of greater flexibility. So, question for all of you really, but where does that really fit in to what you've just been talking about?
It's really important, I think. But at the end, my clients, they don't care if it's in the cloud, yes or no. It has to work. And if we, as a professional sports production technology company, a content company, show them that it works, then it's okay. But for sure, cloud is giving us so much opportunity. So yes, it's really important for us. But
from my point of view, cloud, it's the most of the trucks that we have and most of the sports that we do, it's dependent on the tier that you want. And we've got a live EPL game, cloud. I don't think so at the moment. No way. You've got a lower tier sport, put it in the cloud. Yeah, absolutely. But I need to look at, with regards to the cost, cloud versus, to me, it's still a little bit of a grey area. You know, if you've got a client that has got an account in AWS, brilliant, use that, spin it up. But with regards to a facilities company, maybe having our own server in the cloud, not too sure at the moment. But it's all about the different tiered sports at the moment. You know, cloud editing, absolutely. I think that's brilliant. We're working with that at the moment. So you've got your editors at home spinning up into the cloud. That works absolutely fine. And there's certain we did some tests with UEFA in the cloud, and that worked. That was on the lower tier under 17s football. That's great. Champions League football, no, that needs to be on site because there's so many different deliverables that you need to adhere to, and there's just the size of the OBs as well.
And Ursula, whereabouts does it fit in for you? What are the kind of applications? I mean, Eamonn's listed some of them. Do you agree with what he's saying? Are there any other areas where you might look to turn to the cloud?
Well, it's the same that Eamonn was saying, and to me, it's always the expectation of the client, you know, and a lot of the times the clients don't understand what it means, what goes on in the back. So they expect, oh, just put it on the cloud, you know, but actually that costs. It's not just a service for free. So we need to really, since we're not a facilities provider, we are planning, project management, and as a host broadcaster, you know, we have to join the equipment, the crew, and a lot of the times we go to places that there is no proper internet, or, you know, and they think, oh, you just plug in and that's it. But actually, you know, we need to understand what their expectations are. They need to understand what we can do for the budget. And then we go out and look at partners like EMG, you know, Amazon, what have you, and make a decision on how we want to do it. And then you try to explain it to them. And then, you know, they expect pretty pictures. But, you know, the remote, for example, yes, we can do remote, but depending on what kind of remote you want to do. If you want to do, you know, high quality tier 1 athletics event, for example, then maybe you should not look at remote because you can have a lot of problems. We had an event this summer in Paris, the World Para Athletics Championships, and we were promised to have high-speed internet. We were promised to have a dedicated line, but when we got there, the promises were not kept, so we had to bring in a satellite. And of course, the organizer was jumping up and down and going, but why? It's so expensive. And we said, well, either you want the pictures to go out or you want us to record them and then, you know, and we ended up having to do everything via satellite. So like Eamonn says, you know, it's for a high level event. I would not recommend cloud or maybe even remote unless it's in a stadium that is, you know, safely been used before. But for us that we do multiple sporting events, sometimes in very odd locations, it's still very challenging. And for example, I believe also that, I mean, OBS obviously is a huge, huge challenge with Paris 2024. But I also, you know, I think it needs to be made very clear to the client that there are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and even tier 5 sports, and explain to them, you know, if your expectations are here, then maybe we should not consider doing it remote, and maybe we need to just bring a truck or something similar. So those are the kind of challenges that we face, and like Eamonn said, it's just we need to talk to our partners and understand what they want, and then say, okay, if you want this, then it's going to cost this much, you know.
So Sorry, Eamonn, go on.
I was going to say, you just probably need to differentiate, as Ursula says, you've got host broadcast, and then you've got your unilaterals. And actually, unilaterals remote works, and we can see that. And we've seen that from the Qatar with BBC and ITV having their production teams back in the UK. Sky have been doing it for years on the Formula One, and it works really, really, really well. So but the technology is still high quality. So where they're saving is with regards to sending crew all around the world to these major events, sending crew to site to do all of that. And that's why I go back to, we work with our partners and our clients to find these savings, which are not necessarily in the technology side of it. It all sits outside of that, which wouldn't normally sit in our world. It's their budget, and that's where we work with them to be able to deliver that. So that's where you've got to differentiate. And I think that the day of actually doing a massive host broadcast remote, it's too far. Yeah.
And that's another thing. Now that Eamonn said that, what I was trying to say before, and I lost my train of thought. Sorry, but as a host broadcaster, a lot of clients do not understand that as a host broadcaster, you have to service various broadcasters, streamers all over the world. So you can't individualize, because then they'll go, well, now, for example, in Invictus, they don't understand, for them, the important thing is this IG23, which they're watching on their channel, and they're going, well, why are you not doing this? Or why are you not doing this in German or in English? And it's like, because we're the host broadcaster. There is broadcasters all over that are picking it up in different languages, that are picking it up in different qualities and formats. So we have to create one standard, one format. And then if you want something extra, it's a whole separate thing. So we have to consider the entire world rather than just Germany or, in this case, BBC, because they're one of the main takers. So that's always the same story since the beginning of host broadcasting, is to make people understand the difference.
I wanted to move the conversation on slightly and I guess kind of pick up on that point earlier about more for less. AI is something which is obviously offered, again, as with the cloud and flexibility, and AI is spoken about in terms of, I guess, helping to automate and deal with some of the tasks which might enable you to do more for less. Carlo, I know it's an area that you're particularly familiar with. So just give us a sense of where, and I'm most interested in generative AI really, where you see that fitting in and what the challenges are for those working in production in adopting that as well.
Yeah, I think, and it's okay. You said you focus on generative AI, which is what caught everybody's attention from last November. AI is everywhere today, is improving a lot, and there are many areas of AI. But generative AI, I think, especially in the creative industries in general, has caught the attention of everybody because immediately the instinctive reaction is, okay, we will be replaced, right? I think the best simple way of thinking about it is when painting was kind of replaced by photography, you didn't need a painter to have your family on the wall as a memory. You could just use a photo. I think, but the side effect, the silver lining, is painting became art. So if you look at the production, and I'm thinking, I have a kind of an old obsession on, in this case, football, but I mean, you can apply to many sports. I look at football highlights, and with all respect, so sorry, very often, and I say often, I don't think they have a lot of human touch because you're just producing bam, bam, you have to be fast, you have to push it. So I think one thing that generative AI can bring in this industry is putting, if you want, the human aspect, giving more value to the human aspect. We were talking about cinematic cameras or the use of spider cam. So I've seen production where, I mean, like before with what Ursula gave us in the video, your heart really bumps. And that was sport. That's the difference between sport and a lot of other content. I know that, Serie B in Italy, that every highlight makes your heart bump, maybe not. But, I mean, that should be where humans make a difference. Otherwise, if there is a generative AI aspect that can replace that and do the basic, maybe we use it to create then, in a faster way, the other part. to be honest, if you use generative AI tools a bit, and then you are in front of, and again, huge respect for everybody working on that, with huge complex tools that we built for operators, B2B interfaces. And if I can imagine I'm take Champions League, I want to create a story, a video story or on a storytelling on that. If I have an interface like the generative AI chat or interface where I can say, okay, make it a bit shorter, use more of this player, and I have all the video library, and I can use this interface to create. I know it seems a bit stupid or topic, but maybe it's less. I can create much better content in less time without decreasing my value, maybe increasing. This is the positive view, okay? Because honestly, I've been using tools like Synthesia to create kind of video. You get bored. I mean, if it's easy to create content, normally even myself, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to read it. So if generative AI can give us like a boost or a team around us to create much better content than today, that's a win. If we create content that is even less interesting than today, we all lose. But I don't think there is a future then. Nobody wants to do that, right? This is my, if you want to, you, and sorry, I'm also writing a series of books called Untangling. One is on the many areas of AI, one on industry sport. Shameless promotion, sorry.
And you'll be signing copies of those out there.
Yeah.
Just the
Just
one
for
copy
George.
then, yeah, good.
What I want to add to this conversation is Carlo. We don't know each other, but he has a very famous track record. He's used to work for Olympics and that kind of big theaters and big sports moments. But I think that AI, given the fact that it can be used also by tier 3, tier 4 federation sports, etc., bring a lot of extras because they weren't able to have any people making a highlight or a stories or etc. And if you see what programs of WSC we used in our offices a lot for ESPN, if you see what that does, that's really incredible. Yeah. And that's I think the good part of implementing AI in change that we in this time use for ESPN, but I could easily also do that for the Badminton Federation or something like that. If the WSC in this time software is able to show and recognize badminton, but I think there it's a big plus.
Yeah. Thank you. Now we've been encouraging and suggesting that we want some contributions and questions and suggestions. So I need to make sure that we have time for that. So does anyone have anything that they would like to ask the panel? Is there anything that anybody would like to suggest? Yes, David, just over there.
George, David Phillips, independent consultant with Multicast Consultancy. Something that Mark Smith referred to earlier on hasn't been touched on in this panel session, and that's 5G. Are you using it at the moment, or do you have a timescale for when you think it might be viable in your various applications? And the second question, if I may do that, also is, it also hasn't been touched upon, cameras that are unmanned, where you don't have a camera operator on the camera, like PTZ cameras, PTZ cameras. Are they impacting your operations at the moment? And again, where do you see that going in the future?
Thank you. And so the question on 5G, did you want that to anyone in particular?
No, a general question to all the panel, because I think there's a widespread of opportunities here.
Well, I can answer if you like. About the 5G, we have tried it on several occasions. I have personally chosen not to use it on any of our productions simply because I didn't want to take the risk. We do have our own Maquitos and we do SRT, which is similar. I have done lots of tests with 5G. I've just recently done a cycling event in China. And I was actually very surprised on how well their live view backpacks were working in even very, very extreme conditions at almost 4,000 meters above sea level in tunnels and stuff. So I think we will probably use it in an event that we're doing back in November in Bali, but we shall see. Regarding PTZs, we use them all the time, but we actually use them mixed together with in our live broadcast. So cue balls, Marshalls, all those kind of little toys. we have not used any robotic meaning AI, programmable yet. But I am planning to use those as well quite soon on smaller, on tier 5 events, I would say.
Eamonn, you were going to...
Oh, I was just going to say, we've done lots of 5G tests, and I know the EMG connectivity team have been looking at it in depth. Even in the UK, we did one at the rugby ground, but we haven't gone further down the road with it. It's still early, but it's got huge potential. With regard to the PTZs, they're becoming more and more popular because of the quality of the PTZs. An example of that is the tunnel cam on the EPL, the Premier League in the UK. They have every ground now has a PTZ in the tunnel, and it looks great. So they are becoming, more popular. Unmanned cameras, not very popular for cameramen, obviously, or women. Sorry, camera operators, I should have said. But we're looking at all of those. Yeah.
And
we have the same story. There's nothing really to add.
Yeah.
And when you see the lower tier sports in the Netherlands, some of them use automatic robotic cameras, and they're mainly if it's indoors, it's a very proper quality already, and it's better than having nothing. So that's a huge step forward for them.
Yeah, fantastic. Carlo, did you have anything to
Not on that. I think one of the things that I see this industry would be nice, utopically, as an utopia, if it succeeds, is maybe we need to start to redefine, to understand what the product is. We touched a bit at the beginning. Because in 1987, the product was a satellite, live program, and then you push a bit of highlights and maybe some news at the end. But what is the product? And the answer maybe is not in this room, is at IBC maybe. Because once, I think what has not happened is production has always gone as an industry, boom, 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 to serve, delivery. I mean, it's very operational. But there was never a moment when you say, okay, things are changing, stop for a moment, step back. Now everything around us is very different. Can we redesign from zero? It's a luxury that we don't have. But I think at least in terms of sometimes stand back and rethink what the product is, because it's on so many platforms with so many, it's really different. And we may have a cost of keeping the things as they were, like all the discussion that, again, with all respect, you do on high quality, you may need to, distribute in a different way. So not everything maybe needs that, as you're saying, and it's not only tier. Maybe it's the platform where it goes, or the fact that you can distribute a lot more content. All the content then are in video servers that now you can reuse on digital channels you wouldn't use before. So
especially now,
I don't think we can
B2C.
stop for 6 months, but that would be a great thing to have.
Especially now because it's going straight to the final user a lot of the times, most of the time. So it has to be very flexible and like you said, we have to know what the client wants and expects and then adapt.
Yeah, we did last year the Dutch Cup, the football cup. We did it for ESPN. We did it all for ESPN on the ESPN, let's say, linear channel. We did it on TikTok live, and we did it with some sort of social interactive on YouTube live. That was 3 times the production, but it was really great and really great numbers to see, and that says a little bit about you have to know who you're producing for, and for TikTok it's very different than it is for ESPN linear channel.
Well, it's nice to end on a local event, given that we're in Amsterdam. I knew it was going to be a challenge in itself to try and fit in all of the challenges affecting the sports production industry and come up with some solutions in 40 minutes. But obviously, still lots to get through, but I'm afraid we've run out of time. So please join me in thanking the panel. Thank you to Arthur, thank you to Ursula, Eamonn, and Carlo as well. Thank you.